Hi everybody, welcome back. I want to thank all my subscribers and followers on Instagram. I appreciate you all. A little bit different this week. I thought I would talk about how I'm changing up my collecting philosophy a little bit. And so I'll tell you, I want to talk about why I'm changing it up. And everybody has their own collecting habits. You've seen a lot of mine. I like to collect mostly Marvel, but independents, and really quite light on DC, although that's changing because I've starting to read Green Lantern, so that's been exciting. So a little background on why I'm changing my philosophy. So in the past, I have been involved in a variety of different things. And as you know, I'm kind of a person who enjoys trying to, as we all are, to attempt to stay ahead of the curve. So many years ago, primarily because I was involved in technologies, I became super interested in cryptocurrencies, specifically at the time Bitcoin. And I wasn't into it as much as a lot of people, but I had a bunch of computers actually kind of down here in this office mining Bitcoin. And because I had been a part of starting a number of companies, I, of course, naturally said, hey, how can I start a company? It was the technology was in its infancy. I really feel like it's, cryptocurrencies are still in their infancy. And so I put together a number of business plans, and I had potential investors that were really excited, who I personally knew and would have backed me. But I just couldn't figure out a way other than just pure mining which I wasn't as interested in because if you know any of the ins and outs and put together real analysis at the time, I couldn't find a way to scale it. In fact, one of the things I thought about was just buying land and putting a bunch of solar panels and whatnot on it. The cryptocurrency could maybe barely pay for the land and the expenses, and then maybe after 10 years you would sell the land and maybe then you could make money. So it was basically a real estate deal, less of a Bitcoin deal. Anyways, I couldn't figure it out because I didn't think one of the assumptions I had going in and building my business plans was that Bitcoin would never go over $1,000. So, which obviously I was incorrect, which I'm incorrect on a lot of things. But anyways, I let it go, and fortunately I kept a lot of Bitcoin from back in that day. I've sold most of it now, but so that was good. Anyways, how does that relate to comics? Been loving comics, love comics, collecting comics, but much in the same way Bitcoin changed, I think we are seeing this kind of shift in comics and collectibles, and we can see it. We've talked about it. I've talked about it in this channel. The question is it a fundamental shift in the way that people are approaching collectibles and their relation to asset management? I don't know. I mean, these are questions beyond me, and there's a lot of experts that know more about it than I. But it goes back to the whole saying, which I repeat to a lot of people when I advise them on different things, which is, I thought that Bitcoin would never go over $1,000, and then I didn't recalibrate, although it was so fast, like in 2018 when it blew up. And I was involved in other stuff, so I could never have gone back to try to attempt to do that. But so I didn't recalibrate or re-examine that primarily because of time. So I thought I would do that with comics. Now that I'm been involved with that, things have shifted a little bit. It's always a risk. There's always risk. But maybe my assumptions on certain things that, hey, these particular comics are going to be worth X and the return is X and the risk is X, maybe I need to re-examine it a little bit. So I've been looking at it for the past couple months, and I've decided to shift my collecting just a little bit. let me talk about the 3 tiers in which how I examined it, and my conclusions on it. So basically, I'll also preface this with, this is more of, and because I always try and do a distinction when I'm talking to guys, this is more of the investment side of comics, less of the pure collecting side of comics. So I tried to break up comics into kind of 3 tiers when you're looking at what I would call key comics. And so I broke them up into 3 tiers. So the first tier is, there is relatively a low number of graded comics. I'm looking at graded comics and print runs and other things, but we'll just use graded comics for the ease of use for this video. And the reason why I say that is a lot of these comics have already kind of quote-unquote exploded. So if they had a really good copy of it, it probably would have been graded. I mean, there's probably some out there, but it gives you a good sense of what the graded market is probably somewhat static at this point. And so you can kind of look at those numbers. They may, go up and down a couple percentage points, but they are what they are. So the first tier is what I would consider low graded copies and low demand. And what I mean by that is that they're not like, an Amazing Fantasy 15, which is just high demand. Everybody wants the first appearance of Spider-Man. Everybody knows what it is. So that's a high demand comic. These are a high demand, but not like that one. So the 3 there's a lot you could choose from, but the 3 that I chose, and one of them might surprise you, is Canto 1, which is an independent from, I believe, a year or 2 ago, which has been optioned for a movie. Great comic. And it's around $700, I think, in a 9.8. Very, very low print run. Graded copies is 479 when I just looked, so, under 500. And the book is like around $700. So once again, the classification is low print run, low demand. And once again, I put low demand in quotes. Another one would be Star Wars Heir to the Empire, which is the first appearance of Thrawn. Total graded copies, once again, these are 9.8s and 1.0s. Total graded copies, 981. Now there are variants and other things, but this is a low. This is under 1,000, under 1,500 available. And then the last one, which may surprise you, and that's why I chose it, is Journey into Mystery 85. Total graded copies, first appearance of Loki. Total graded copies, 1,000. And I only say that it has to have low demand, even though it's weird because the show has been great and everybody's talking about Loki, is because since there's only 1,000, you would think this comic in a 1.0 would be $20,000, and it's not. They're very relatively reasonable when you're looking at those types of comics from those years, Silver Age comics, and the character is that well known, and that it's less than, like I said, total graded copies 1,081. So you'd think that the prices would be out of control. So that's why I say it's relatively low demand. Okay, my second tier is high demand and high graded copies. So an example is, and there's lots of examples, but would be Spawn 1. So there's a ton of graded copies, 14,000, over 14,000 graded copies, obviously high demand. And that's why you're seeing the price point, which isn't crazy, but I mean, when I think crazy, it's like $20,000, something like that. No, but there is a lot of these out there. My other example would be Secret Wars number 8, first appearance of the black suit. And ton of them out there, graded over 15,000. Once again, this is 9.8, 9.6 is everything. Total graded is over 15,000. But there's high demand. Everybody likes that book. It's a classic book, classic cover. And that's why it can demand, I think a 9.8 might be even around over 1,000 now. I'm not sure, something like that. And then the last one in this category I have is Amazing Spider-Man 300, which first appearance of Venom, high demand, but over 20,000, almost 21,000 graded. So once again, those are 9.8s and all the way down. But, you know, as we know, that one's selling, I think, for around $3K, maybe a little bit more in a 9.8. But everybody wants it. The demand is higher or high enough to justify that price. So the ones, of course, that from a more investment perspective, which I wanted to change my philosophies on, is the third tier, which is very, very low print run, very, very high demand. So in this classification, I put, and people might disagree with this, but I put Star Wars Clone Wars 1, which is the first appearance of Ahsoka, and there's 724 graded. Now there is a variant. See, this is where things get weird in the modern age. There is a variant that has like 150. That's the 1 in 1,000. There's 1,000 of them, I think, of that variant, but very few have been graded. I don't know why. You'd think there'd be more, but there hasn't been. So maybe 1,000 total copies, including that variant. So very, very low graded copies. And I think Ahsoka is a huge character already because of Clone Wars, etc. Obviously, we saw her in live action. She is going to be massive. She might even be the future of Star Wars, like a Jedi, like a Luke Skywalker type person, I think, going forward. So I think this is a huge comic, and so I have invested in one. You've seen it. Number 2 is Journey into Mystery 83, First Thor. Obviously, everybody knows about this comic. I do not own this comic. Significance of it is, of these Silver Age type comics, most of them, when you're looking at total graded, once again, 1 through 9.8, they are, all around 13, 14, 1500. And this one is around 1500. I classify this as super ultra high demand because Thor is such a, incredible character, and this is, a mega grail in my mind. So, and I only am saying that when you compare it to other Silver Age at the time. So there are other mega grails in this area. Fantastic Four, who, obviously still coming. But like Hawkeye, Black Widow, love the characters, but they're not in the same tier as Thor. I think you would agree. Also, when you look at Shang-Chi, although I like him, I would say Doctor Doom is not in this world either. So extremely high demand is what I'm looking for. And Thor fits that, only 1,540 on the CGC census for this comic in any grade. And the last two, you're probably familiar with. Incredible Hulk number 1. And this is really in all of, if you want to look at the Ultimate, it is extremely high demand. Everybody loves Incredible Hulk. And, of course, only 1,292. So of these kind of Silver Age comics, this is one of the lowest graded. So, and then the last one is Amazing Fantasy 15, which we're all familiar. First appearance of Spider-Man. And there's that, in the world of these, Silver Age, this one actually has 2,200, which is a little bit higher. So like I said, most of them are around 1,500. But this specific one, I think the demand is maybe even at another level beyond all the other ones because it's Spider-Man. So so those are the 3 tiers. And so because of that, I have decided to take a different approach in my collecting, and I've decided to actually, of those 4 examples, I've decided to buy all 4. So I recently purchased an Amazing Fantasy 15. I recently purchased an Incredible Hulk 1. They're still coming. I will show them on this channel. There's interesting stories behind the acquisition of all these. I'll go into a little bit about the research, negotiation, some of the other things that went through. Some of it, these are very reputable. I've had a great experience in trying to find these books, so I just want to relay it because I think there's some fun stories there. But it's been a good experience, and talk about it because it's kind of fun, and you may find it interesting. The one that I'm still searching for, of course, is Thor. So if anybody knows of low grade Journey into Mystery 83 they want to throw at me, I definitely would be interested. So you can look forward to that. And I appreciate you guys watching. Take care.